I remember the first night clearly, though I wish I could forget. The farmhouse sat at the edge of the fog, its wooden boards creaking with every faint gust of wind. The lanterns flickered as I walked down the narrow dirt path, and the air smelled of damp earth and old hay. Somewhere in the distance, an animal, or maybe something else, rustled through the undergrowth. My breath made small clouds in the cold night air, and for a moment, the world felt entirely still. Then I heard the faintest whisper, almost carried by the wind, a voice that didn't belong to anyone I knew. I froze, heart tight, listening to the soft, rhythmic hum that seemed to seep from the barn itself. The fog swirled around my ankles, swallowing the ground beneath me, and the shadows cast by the trees danced like silent figures. That's when I saw it, a pale, shifting shape at the edge of the field, watching, waiting, yet impossibly still. I wanted to look away, to run, but some part of me needed to know what it was. And even now, I can't explain what I felt that night. The dread that settled in my chest, the strange calm that pressed against my mind, and the certainty that whatever was out there was aware of me. I never should have stepped closer to the barn. The field stretches endlessly. Tall, pale stalks sway, brushing each other in a slow, hesitant rhythm. A soft wind moves through them, carrying whispers I cannot understand. I feel the hum of the night in my chest. It vibrates, subtle, insistent. The air tastes faintly of earth and cold dew. Shadows twist between the rows. I think I see shapes, barely formed, bending with the stalks. My skin prickles. I am not alone. A scarecrow stands in the distance. Its head tilts. I blink. It tilts again. The wind carries voices that are not voices. Soft, fleeting syllables that dissolve as soon as I try to catch them. I hold my breath. My footsteps are swallowed by the earth. The ground smells damp, rich. Every rustle echoes. Too deliberate. The shadows stretch longer as the moon slides behind clouds. I see a shimmer of movement. Something small, quick, vanishing. I wonder if it's in my mind. The scarecrow's eyes seem to follow me. Empty sockets, pale in the fog, yet watching. I shift my weight. It turns with me. The whispers grow, or maybe I am leaning closer. I cannot tell. It feels like they are coming from everywhere, yet nowhere. I press my palm to the stalks. They are rough, cold, alive in a way that is not planned. Something brushes my arm. Not a breeze. Not anything I can name. The night deepens. I hear my own pulse, loud against the quiet hum of everything else. It keeps pace with the swaying stalks. A scent rises, old corn, rotting at the roots, mixed with wet earth. It clings to my clothes, to my hair. I want to pull away, but my feet stay rooted. A shadow moves closer, slow and deliberate. I do not see it fully, only glimpses between stalks. It disappears when I turn. The whispers thicken, forming a rhythm that lulls and unnerves. I feel them around my ears, inside my chest, crawling under my skin. I do not understand, cannot translate, but I understand fear. The scarecrow tilts once more. Closer now. Or am I closer? The line between me, and it blurs in the fog. I hear a soft footstep. Then another. I stand perfectly still. Nothing appears in the mist. The cornfield stretches, endless, a labyrinth of stalks and shadows. The wind dies down, leaving a thick silence that presses against my ribs. Even the hum is gone. I lean forward, the cold tips of leaves brushing my cheek. A faint crackle, like static, whispers through the air. I feel it in my teeth, in the pulse of my temples. And then nothing, only the soft sigh of the night. Only my own breath, shallow and trembling. The scarecrow tilts once more. A shadow moves in the corner of my vision, and I realize I may never be alone here. The wind rises again. The whispers return, faint, unintelligible, insistent. I take a step back, but the field goes on, endless, and I do not know where I begin or where it ends. The fog lays thick along the path. Damp earth clings to my shoes. I can taste the cold in the back of my throat. A lantern drifts ahead. Its pale light quivers, casting long shadows over grass. I hesitate, drawn and wary at once. The mist curls around my ankles, sticky and slow. Each step, makes the ground sigh beneath me. The lantern moves, almost beckoning. I think I see a figure flicker in the light. A shape, too fleeting to name, gone before my mind can catch it. My chest tightens. The barn looms on the left, black against the fog. Its boards are warped, old, smelling faintly of rot. The lantern swings closer, then drifts back, teasing. The hum of the night presses against my ears. It vibrates with the lantern's wavering glow. I am both curious and afraid. A shadow steps into the light. It tilts, a vague silhouette, dissolving as I take a careful step forward. The fog thickens, wrapping around me, damp and silent. I reach out. The lantern seems just out of reach, a heartbeat away. The light dances, flickering shapes in my vision. The smell of wet wood and moss fills the air. My fingers graze the edge of the barn, cold, splintered, alive in its own slow, decaying way. The figure appears again, a pale outline between fog and light. I blink and it is gone. Soft footsteps brush the ground behind me. Or is it my own echoing too loudly? I dare not turn. The lantern drifts lower. Its glow reflects in puddles, stretching the path into a maze of silver. I feel it watching me, though no eyes meet mine. The fog hums around me, a whispering that is not words, but insistence. I shiver, though the air is still. The figure flickers once more. I try to follow it through the mist. The earth squelches underfoot, wet and unwilling. A sudden silence blankets the field. The lantern hangs in place, motionless, like a suspended heartbeat. My breath hangs heavy, mingling with the fog. I step closer. It glimmers, revealing only the curve of a shoulder, a hand that vanishes. The lantern flickers. Gone. The barn stands empty. Its darkness swallows the mist. I feel my own pulse in the hush. The path stretches on. The fog folds around it like a slow, breathing thing. The lantern could return, or I could be alone forever. I taste the cold metal of the night on my lips. I smell damp earth, wood, and something faint, like smoke. The shadows shift slow, patient. The lantern flickers in the distance. It moves again, hesitant, and I realize I am following, but the path has no end. I stop. The mist curls around me, gentle, yet suffocating. The hum of nothing presses against my chest. The lantern drifts farther. The figure fades once more. I breathe, shallow and unsteady. And then silence. Only fog and cold, and the faint memory of a pale light that may never return. The night is still. Moonlight spills weakly across the porch, pale and cold. I can feel the frost settling into the boards under my fingers. Soft footsteps echo, slow, deliberate, yet weightless. Each step presses into the old wood, and it groans beneath some invisible weight. The air tastes of damp earth and winter chill. My breath curls in shallow clouds. I am alone, or I want to be. The wind hums through the nearby trees. Rustling leaves brush against the side of the house. And yet there is something else. Breathing, not mine. Shallow, deliberate, careful. I hold myself still. The porch stretches before me, empty, silent except for the boards beneath the soft steps. I strain to see shapes in the corners, where moonlight barely reaches. The steps shift closer. A pause. A groan, low, like the wood sighing under weight it should not bear. I smell old wood and cold, dry air, a hint of something metallic, faint, lingering. My skin prickles. I want to call out, but my voice feels trapped, swallowed by the night. I dare not move. I hear the faint drag of toes across the boards. A shadow brushes the edge of the doorway, flickering in pale moonlight. I blink, gone. The air presses against my chest. I taste dust, cold, and something darker I cannot name. My hands rest on the railing, cold and steady, though my heart is not. The footsteps circle, soft, weightless, slow. Each pause stretches the silence, making it tremble, thin. The porch creaks beneath nothing, groans beneath an unseen presence. I feel it in my soles and the bones of my feet. A static hum vibrates in my teeth, in the tips of my fingers. The wind dies. Silence presses. Even the trees hold still. I hear a soft scrape, a foot moving deliberately along the edge. Closer. I breathe quietly, shallow, barely moving my chest. My eyes search the moonlit planks for shape, shadow, hint of life. There is something, always something. The footsteps pause. A long moment of stillness. And then nothing. Only the hum of the night, faint, insistent. Only my own breath, quick, uneven. The porch is empty. I lean back against the railing. Cold seeps into my arms, into my spine. The boards beneath me whisper under my weight. The air tastes faintly of metal again. A lingering scent of presence. I know the steps will return. The shadows twist at the edges of the porch. Moonlight flickers against the siding, pale, uncertain. I feel watched, even in the emptiness. A soft creak, then silence. I do not move. The night listens. The frost glints under the moon, sharp and white. Breath hangs heavy in the air. The steps may return, or they may not. I stay quiet, still, alone on the porch, with shadows that do not belong, and a tension that settles like fog over my chest. The barn smells of old wood and dust. Moonlight slips through cracks in the siding, thin and pale. The air tastes dry, faintly sweet with the scent of hay. I step inside. The floorboards creak beneath my weight. Every sound echoes, swallowed and returned by the darkness. Hay shifts above me. A faint rustle, soft, deliberate. I freeze. A lantern swings gently in my hand. Its glow flickers against the rafters, casting long, uncertain shadows. Shapes appear and vanish in the corners of my eyes. The air vibrates. A low hum coils through the beams, through the rafters. It is not wind, not anything I can name. I hold the lantern closer. The hayloft shifts again. A shape, a shoulder, a face, a flicker, disappears before I can see it clearly. The hum pulses through my chest. I feel in my teeth, in my fingertips, a resonance I cannot place. Every movement seems magnified, every breath too loud. The lantern light wavers. Shadows curl, twisting along the walls and stacks of hay. I wonder the shapes are real, or my mind trying to fill the silence. The floor smells of dust, old straw, and something faintly metallic. I brush my hand along a hay bale. It trembles under my touch, not entirely still. A whisper rides a hum. Not words, just vibration, subtle, insistent. I can feel it brushing my ear, my cheek, my neck. The hay shifts again. A small pile rises, then falls back into itself. The lantern casts a quick, dancing shadow that seems alive. I step forward, careful. The smell of earth and rot grows stronger. Every motion seems to stretch the silence longer, thinner. The hum pulses like a heartbeat, like a chant. I clutch the lantern closer. Shadows bend, curve, disappear, reappear. The air is still, thick, heavy. Even the dust seems to hover in place, waiting. I hear my own breath, quick and uneven. A shape rises again, fleeting. I blink, gone. The hum lingers, vibrating the rafters, through the floor, through me. The lantern sways. Hay shivers in its faint light. I am not alone. I step back. The shadows stretch, long and patient. The barn exhales around me, a soft, living thing. The hum fades. The shapes vanish. The air tastes faintly of straw, dust, and something colder. I stand still. The lantern trembles in my hand. The hayloft waits, silent and suspended, as if holding its breath. And I know I could stay here forever, watching the shadows dance, listening to the soft, unending hum, and never truly be alone. The edge of the farm is swallowed in fog. The grass is damp, heavy with dew. Cold seeps into my boots, up through my toes. A shape leans over the old water well. Pale, thin, almost transparent. The lantern in my hand trembles as I step closer. The air tastes faintly of iron and earth. A soft hum rides a fog, vibrating through my chest. I hear breathing, not mine. The figure tilts, bending over the well. Its form is blurred, flickering in the pale moonlight. I take a cautious step. The mist coils around my ankles. The smell of wet earth and cold metal fills my senses. The figure does not shift when I move. I reach the edge of the well, and it is gone. Nothing remains but mist curling around the stone. The air feels alive. The soft breathing lingers, echoing in the fog in my ears. I taste cold on my lips, metallic and sharp. Shadows twist in the mist. The ground beneath my feet hums faintly, almost imperceptibly. I feel watched, though nothing moves. I step forward. The fog parts briefly, revealing the well's dark mouth. A faint reflection ripples on its surface, pale and fleeting. The figure was here. Or was it? I cannot tell. The hum rises, subtle, insistent. Soft footsteps circle the well, though no shape appears. My chest tightens. A chill rises from the stone. The mist clings to my skin, soaking through my coat. I shiver. The fog curls, thick and slow. The well waits, hollow, patient. Breath and shadow mingle, lingering in the silence. I step back. The earth smells damp and faintly sweet, like rotting leaves. The mist coils higher, hiding the path behind me. I close my eyes. The soft breathing continues, distant yet intimate. It is everywhere and nowhere. When I open my eyes, the pale shape is gone. Only the fog remains, curling, moving, waiting. I taste the chill, the damp, the emptiness pressing in. I take a slow step away. The well stands silent. The air hums faintly in my ears. I pause. The fog swirls. Shadows bend. I hear nothing now but my own breath, shallow and uneven, yet the feeling remains. That something leaned over the well, watching, waiting, just beyond the reach of light. The lantern flickers. Mist drifts across its pale glow, and I know the edge of the farm is never truly empty. The orchard is still. The air is cool, heavy with the scent of damp leaves and earth. Mist curls around my ankles, thick and slow. Branches sway, though the wind does not move. Shadows stretch and bend across the path. They flicker, alive, though nothing passes through them. A hum rises, faint, low. It vibrates through the bark, through the ground, into my chest. I feel it in my teeth, in the tips of my fingers. I step carefully. Soft leaves brush against my coat. The air tastes metallic, wet. The hum shifts, rising, falling, insistent. It seems to circle me, wrap around the trees. I wonder if it is coming from somewhere or everywhere. Shadows twist along the trunks. A branch dips, brushing the mist. I catch the movement in the corner of my eye. The orchard smells of wet soil and rotting fruit. I reach out, my fingers grazing bark rough and cold. The hum lingers in the touch, vibrating through my skin. I pause. The air feels thick, alive. Every step seems to stretch the silence longer. Branches sway again. Shadows curl over the path, moving slower than light. I blink, and a shape seems to vanish just beyond them. The hum grows, subtle and deep. It resonates in my chest and throat, low and insistent. I taste damp earth and the faint tang of something older. I breathe slowly, shallow. Footsteps are swallowed by the soft, wet ground. The orchard stretches ahead, endless rows of twisting trunks. A shadow shifts closer. Or perhaps I shift toward it. I cannot tell which moves first. The fog curls, wrapping the trees in slow coils. The hum softens, almost whispering. It vibrates along the branches, along my arms, through my ribs. The orchard remains, endless and patient. Branches sway. Shadows twist. The hum persists. I feel watched, though nothing meets my gaze. I step back. The ground smells damp, faintly sweet, almost like decay. Mist brushes my cheeks, cold and wet. The orchard exhales around me. I hear only my own breath, shallow and quick. The hum lingers, quiet but present, threading through the silence. I pause beneath the tallest tree. The shadows stretch across my path, thin and alive. The orchard waits, patient, humming, and I know I am not alone. The yard is quiet. Moonlight spills across the grass, pale and uneven. Frost clings to the edges of the old gate. It squeals, a long drawn note, high and metallic. No one touches it. I hold my breath. The air tastes faintly of rust and wet earth. The boards beneath my feet groan softly, tired and old. A shadow crosses the yard, slow, deliberate, stopping just out of reach of the moonlight. I blink. It is gone. The gate squeals again. Each note stretches, thin and lingering. The hum of night presses against my ears. I step forward. Grass crunches under my boots, faint and tentative. The air smells damp, cold, metallic. The shadow returns. It moves in arcs, circling, retreating, always just out of view, slipping into darkness. I feel the chill wrap around my shoulders. The gate shifts slightly, squealing again like a breath. I hear my own heartbeat, slow, loud in the quiet. The shadow pauses. I strain, but there is nothing, only the faint hum of night. It seems to watch, patient, deliberate. The frost clings to the fence posts. The gate squeals once more, thin and sharp. I feel it resonate in my teeth, in my chest. A soft rustle in the grass. Something brushes past the corner of my vision. I turn, nothing. The shadow moves again. A slow, twisting shape that vanishes whenever I focus on it. The night stretches, patient, waiting. I reach the edge of the yard. The gate sways slightly, squealing faintly in the cold wind that does not move. The shadow retreats, vanishing beyond the fence line. The air tastes of metal and frost. Breath curls in clouds in front of me. I feel alone, yet something lingers just beyond the glow of the moon. The gate settles. Its hinges sigh softly, echoing in the yard. The shadow is gone. I step back. The frost bites at my boots. The yard exhales around me, quiet, patient, and I know it waits. The attic smells of old wood and dust. Moonlight slips through the small window, pale and fragile. The air tastes cold, dry, and sharp. I step up the stairs. Each board groans beneath my weight. The silence presses, thick and waiting. A breath brushes past my neck. Soft, icy, almost imperceptible. I shiver. Boxes shift on their own. A stack of old papers rustles. The hum of night vibrates through the floorboards. The air grows colder. It bites at my cheeks and fingertips. I can feel it crawling along my spine. Shadows stretch across the beams. A coat hangs crooked, as if moved by unseen hands. The moonlight flickers, pale and uncertain. I hold my breath. The cold lingers, pressing down, heavy. I taste a faint tang of metal in the air. A soft creak. Something moves in the corner. I glance, but see only shadows and dust motes. The hum rises, low and insistent, vibrating through my chest. I reach out. The floor beneath my hand is rough, splintered, alive in its own quiet way. The boxes shift again, deliberate, patient. The breath brushes closer. Not mine. It curls around my collar, brushes my hair, whispers against my ear. The air tastes colder. My palms are clammy. The attic feels alive, waiting, patient. Shadows twist along the beams. A small object tilts, then falls, silent, almost graceful. I catch it in the pale light. Dust rises, floating like mist. The hum fades, leaving a thick, heavy quiet. I hear only my own breathing, shallow and quick. The attic presses in around me. I step back. The boxes settle. The shadows stretch long and patient, unmoving, watching. The cold breath fades, leaving its imprint on my skin. The moonlight flickers once more. The attic exhales, quiet, lingering, and I know I am not alone here. The wheat sways in the fading light. The air is warm, tinged with dust and dry earth. A soft wind brushes against my cheeks, stirring the stalks. I see them first in the corner of my eye. 2 small points of light, glowing faintly among the gold. They blink, or I blink, and they are gone. The stalks rustle around me. A soft, persistent movement, whispering, brushing. I feel eyes on me, patient, unblinking. I step closer. The wheat bends, brushing against my arms and face. The scent of dry stalks and sun-warmed soil fills my nose. The glowing points appear again. Higher now, a pair of pale, luminous shapes. I take another step. They vanish, only rustling stalks, and the hum of the air vibrating against my chest. A chill rises along my spine. The wind dies. The wheat stills. The glowing eyes do not return, but the feeling remains. I walk slowly, careful. The stalks scrape my fingertips. Rough, alive. The hum lingers, subtle, threading through the silence. The sun dips lower. Shadows stretch long and uneven across the field. I see a flicker, just beyond reach, and the cold pulse of being watched. I stop. The wheat shifts again, slow and deliberate. A rustle here, a sway there, as though something moves beneath the stalks. The eyes blink briefly. I cannot tell if they belong to one creature or many. Each time I move, they vanish. I breathe slowly. The air tastes dry, metallic, like the edges of forgotten things. The hum of unseen presence presses softly against my ribs. I step back toward the path. The wheat sighs, brushing my legs with gentle insistence. The glowing eyes do not follow, but they are not gone. The sun sets fully. Shadows fold into themselves, swallowing the stalks in gray. I am alone, and yet I am not. I pause at the edge of the field. The rustling continues, faint, patient. And I know something waits in the wheat, just beyond the reach of sight. The barn stands silent. Lantern light spills across its weathered boards, pale and uneven. The air tastes of cold wood and dust. Shadows stretch behind the barn, elongated, twisting shapes that move as if alive. I step closer, boots pressing into damp earth. The wind hums faintly. It stirs the grass, brushes my skin. The shadows bend unnaturally, forming angles no body should make. I hold the lantern higher. The glow flickers across the boards, catching jagged edges of shadow. Shapes twist, then collapse into darkness. The air smells faintly of moss and iron. I feel it press against my cheeks, cold and patient. A subtle vibration runs through the ground beneath me. The shadows lengthen. They stretch toward me, then recoil as if aware of my gaze. I blink. They shift again, forming shapes impossible to name. I step forward. The lantern wavers, trembling in my hand. The cool night air bites at my fingers. A rustle passes behind me. I turn, nothing. The shadows remain patient, twisting. The hum rises, low, insistent. It vibrates through my chest and teeth. The shapes sway, angular, impossible, lingering at the edge of perception. I breathe slowly, shallow. The lantern catches a shape that bends like a broken tree, then vanishes. I taste cold metal, damp earth, the air thick with stillness. The shadows pause. A long, quiet stillness settles over the barn. I feel eyes where there should be none. The lantern flickers. A shape stretches, thin and jagged, leaning toward the light. Then it collapses into darkness, leaving only pale, uneven shadows. I step back, careful. The earth presses cold beneath my boots. The air hums softly, insistent, alive. The barn exhales around me. Shadows twist in the corners, patient, waiting. The lantern quivers in my hand. I stand still. The shapes remain, elongating, bending, lingering just beyond the light. And I know they will not leave. The wooden path stretches into fog. The boards are slick with dew, cold under my boots. Each step presses into wood that creaks beneath unseen weight. The forest exhales around me. Mist coils between the trunks, thick and patient. The air smells of wet moss and rotting leaves. I hear whispers, soft, hesitant, carried on the fog. Almost words, but I cannot place them. A board shifts beneath my hand. The rough wood presses against my palm, damp and cold. I shiver. The path narrows, bending between gnarled trees. Shadows twist and stretch along the edges of the fog. I feel eyes on me, though nothing moves. The whispers rise. A low hum threads through them, vibrating in my chest. I step lightly, careful. A leaf brushes my cheek. The fog tastes metallic, faintly of wet earth. The boards groan, patient, alive under my weight. The path bends again. Shadows curl in the fog, twisting with shapes that almost resemble faces. I blink. They shift, impossible, fleeting. The whispers circle me, gentle, insistent. I strain to hear, catching syllables that vanish before I can understand. Breath and fog mingle against my lips. A soft scrape moves beneath the boards. I freeze, chest tightening. The hum vibrates in my teeth, low and persistent. The path stretches ahead, narrow and thin. Shadows fold into the fog, patient, waiting. I feel the unseen weight shift with each careful step. I step back, brushing against a handrail. The wood is cold, rough, solid beneath my fingers. The whispers fade, leaving a quiet that presses against my chest. The fog curls thick, curling around each tree, each board. The path exhales slowly, the boards creaking under imagined weight. I taste the damp, metallic air, shiver again. I pause. The forest holds its breath. The fog waits, patient, and I feel I am not alone. The whispers linger faintly, ghosting along the boards. The path stretches, endless and silent, and I know it will always watch. The pantry smells of old wood and dry grain. Moonlight filters through a narrow window, pale and thin. The air tastes faintly of dust and coal metal. I step inside. Boards creak softly beneath my weight. Shadows cling to the corners, patient, waiting. The mirror leans against the wall. Its glass is dark, streaked with age. I see a flicker, movement that shouldn't belong to anyone. I step closer. The reflection shifts, subtle, deliberate. Shapes linger just behind the glass, watching silently. The air hums faintly, a vibration through my chest. I feel it in my teeth, in my fingertips. The pantry exhales around me, heavy and still. A shadow curves across the mirror's surface. I blink, and it remains impossibly still yet alive. The wooden shelves smell of old grain and faint rot. I reach out. My fingers hover above the glass. It is cool, smooth, and different, but the shapes shift beneath it. A soft rustle comes from the corner. I turn. Nothing moves. The mirror catches the faintest glint of moonlight, reflecting back shapes that do not belong. The hum rises slightly. It coils around my spine, curls in my chest. I taste the metallic edge of fear in the air. The reflection tilts. An arm that isn't mine stretches along the glass, then withdraws. I step back, heart slow, breath shallow. The shadows press against the edges of the mirror. I feel them leaning, patient, quiet. The air grows heavier, damp, alive in its stillness. I breathe slowly. The pantry smells of wood, dust, and lingering cold. The mirror hums softly in its own way. Shapes twist in the reflection again. They linger, patient, just beyond my ability to name them. I blink. They do not move, but I feel them. I step away. The floorboards sigh beneath my boots. The mirror stands silent, dark, waiting. I pause. The pantry exhales around me, patient and still, and I know it watches, always. The mud is soft, cold under my boots. The barn looms behind me, dark and patient. The air tastes of wet earth and faint decay. I kneel to look closer. Faint paw-like impressions mar the surface, delicate and deliberate. No animal stirs nearby. A low growl hums beneath the silence. It vibrates through the ground, through my chest, through my teeth. I feel it brushing against my ribs. The fog curls along the edges of the field. Soft, wet mist clings to my hair and coat. Shadows stretch across the mud, thin and trembling. The prints are small, precise, moving toward the barn. I step carefully, boots pressing in wet mud, leaving my own marks behind. The hum rises, low, insistent, patient. I pause. The barn exhales in the night, with creaking softly. The air smells of cold metal and damp straw. The paw-like impressions appear again. Closer now, fresh, though nothing moves. I feel eyes upon me, patient, silent. I kneel, hand hovering above the mud. It is cool, slick, alive in its own quiet way. The growl hums beneath me, low, vibrating against my spine. A soft rustle passes the barn's edge. I turn, nothing. The fog curls and lingers, thick and patient. The prints disappear. Only the damp earth, the hum, the silence remain. I taste the metallic edge of fear in the air. I step back slowly. Mud clings to my boots, cool and sticky. The growl fades, leaving a quiet that presses against my chest. The barn exhales once more. Shadows stretch long, patient, waiting. And I know, whatever left these prints, it is still here. The fields vanish beneath thick fog. The night tastes damp and metallic. Each blade of grass disappears into pale gray. I step forward. Soft mud squishes under my boots. The fog curls around my legs, cold and patient. Distant whispers drift along the air. They are faint, fractured, almost forming words I cannot catch. I feel them brushing my ears, soft and insistent. A thud rolls through the mist. Slow, deliberate, distant. It presses against my chest like a pulse. The fog swirls. A figure drifts within it, pale, indistinct. Each time I step closer, it retreats, patient, elusive. The air smells of wet earth and frost. Moisture clings to my hair and coat. The whispers rise and fade, looping around me. I pause. The figure lingers, barely visible, like smoke caught in the gray. Shadows curl at its edges, stretching impossibly long. Soft thuds repeat, irregular, measured. The ground vibrates faintly beneath my boots. I taste cold metal on my tongue, the fog heavy in my lungs. The figure sways, drifting closer. I cannot see details, only the shimmer of presence. The whispers coil through the fog, brushing against my skin. I step back. The mud clings to my boots, cold, slick. The figure retreats, dissolving into mist and shadow. The air grows still. Whispers fade, leaving only the low hum of the night. The fog rolls on, patient, waiting. I stand alone in the field. The figure is gone, but I feel it watching, patient and silent. The fog exhales around me, and I know it will return. The farmhouse smells of old wood and cold air. Moonlight filters through dusty windows, pale and hesitant. Each room holds shadows that stretch and bend in silence. The door creaks, slow, deliberate, as if pushed by unseen hands. I pause, breath tight in my chest. The floorboards sigh beneath my weight. Cold air brushes my skin, carrying faint hints of dust and damp straw. The hum rises, low, subtle, threading through the rooms. I step closer to the doorway. The hinges groan, patient, deliberate. A shadow curls along the wall, twisting with the pale light. The air tastes metallic, heavy. Each room I enter feels colder than the last. The hum grows faintly, like something moving just beyond perception. I reach for the doorknob. It is cold, slick under my fingers. The shadows cling to corners, patient and patient. The door swings wider. Each step I take echoes softly, swallowed by the stillness. I feel eyes, pressing, waiting, though no one is there. The hum vibrates in my chest. It coils around my ribs, gentle yet insistent. The air tastes of wet wood and lingering cold. I glance down the hallway. Rooms unfold, silent, empty, yet alive with presence. Shadows stretch along the walls, curling toward me, then retreating. A floorboard shifts under imagined weight. I freeze, breath shallow, senses alert. The hum hums softly, insistent, alive in the silence. I step into the next room. Cold brushes my cheeks, settling into my bones. The shadows twist along the walls, patient and watching. The door behind me swings closed slowly. The movement is subtle, inevitable. The hum lingers, vibrating through the walls. Through my teeth, I stand alone. The farmhouse exhales around me, with groaning softly. And I know the presence waits, patient, in each room, in every shadow. The chicken coop smells of straw and damp wood. Dusk falls, casting pale light across the yard. Shadows stretch long, curling between the posts. I step closer. Feathers stir without wind, brushing my legs with a ghostly touch. The air tastes faintly of hay and cold earth. Shapes flicker in the corners of the coop. They twist, impossible, just beyond recognition. I blink, and they vanish, leaving only shifting shadows. A soft coo drifts through the misty air. It loops and bends, forming whispers I cannot place. I feel it brushing against my ears, intimate and unsettling. The boards groan beneath my boots. Cold seeps through the wood, chilling my palms as I lean close. The coop exhales around me, patient, alive in its stillness. The feathers rise, quivering, as if sensing something unseen. I step closer, careful, boots sinking slightly into damp straw. The shapes shift again, curling in corners, flickering in pale light. The whispers rise and fade, circling the coop like smoke. I taste metallic air, heavy with the presence of something patient. The shadows stretch longer, folding into the mist outside. I pause, hand hovering above a wooden perch. It is cold, rough, solid under my fingers. The coos linger, soft, insistent, weaving through the air. A shape flickers at the far end. It seems to watch, patient and still. I step back slowly, breath shallow, chest tight. The coop exhales around me, with sighing softly. Feathers settle, silent again, though I feel eyes everywhere. The whispers fade into the dusk, leaving a quiet that presses against my skin. I step away, leaving the coop behind. The shadows curl in the corners, patient, waiting. And I know it watches, always. The creek murmurs beneath the bridge, cold water brushing against smooth stones. Evening folds the fields into shadow. The air tastes damp, heavy with moss and wet earth. I step closer. The wood of the bridge sighs beneath my weight. A faint hum vibrates through the stones, low, insistent, threading through my bones. Mist curls around the banks, clinging to my hair and coat. The hum rises slightly, almost rhythmic, almost alive. I lean over the railing, breath shallow, heartbeat echoing. A shadow flickers beneath the bridge, pale, shifting, impossible to focus on. It drifts along the dark water, curling around rocks, then vanishes. The hum vibrates beneath my feet. I can feel it in my chest, under my ribs, pressing lightly. The air smells of wet wood and stagnant water. I crouch, toes gripping the cold planks. The shadow returns near the far edge, flickering as if uncertain. It stretches, then folds back into the darkness, patient, silent. Ripples brush the stones, cool and slick. The hum coils in the bridge timbers, curling around me like smoke. I taste the metallic edge of fear on my tongue. The shadow pulses once, faintly, then dissolves. The hum lingers, fading into the night. Mist rises along the banks, curling around the bridge, patient. I step back, boots squelching in the mud. The stones beneath my feet vibrate faintly with memory, or perhaps presence. I feel eyes waiting, patient, beneath the bridge. The creek exhales dark and smooth. The hum drifts low, insistent, fading into silence. And I know, whatever watches, it will remain patient always beneath the stones. The barn smells of old hay and damp timber. Dust hangs in the pale light, drifting in lazy motes. I crawl carefully, knees pressing into cold, rough boards. Soft rustles follow each movement. They drift through the shadows, brushing against unseen corners. The air tastes of hay, earth, and something faintly metallic. I pause, chest tight, breath shallow. Eyes, or the sense of them, press from the dark. They do not blink. They do not move, yet I feel their weight. The rafters groan above, echoing in the silence. Shadows twist along the walls, lingering where no light reaches. A cold breeze snakes through a crack, brushing my neck. I crawl further, hand trailing over rough planks. The rustles follow, subtle, patient, almost like whispered breathing. My fingertips graze a bale of hay. It shifts slightly under nothing. The barn exhales around me, alive in its quiet. Dust settles in the still air, coating my skin with the memory of it. I taste the damp earth, the faint tang of something watching. Shapes flicker at the edges of my vision. I blink, and they vanish, folding into shadow. The silence returns, but it presses now, heavier than before. I pause again, feeling the cold seep through my clothes. Each movement I make sends echoes that vanish too quickly. The rustling swirls, circling, patient, waiting. I crawl past the old stalls, noting their empty hollows. The hum of the barn's stillness vibrates through my ribs. I feel fingers of cold air trace my spine. The rustles grow faint, retreating into silence. But the eyes linger, patient, hidden. I rise slowly, brushing straw from my palms, and step toward the door. The barn exhales once more, groaning softly with the weight of unseen presence. I step outside, alone, and the shadows wait, patient, inside, following me with every echo. The corn stalks rise like walls, pale in the moonlight. The path twists, narrower than I remember. Night presses down, thick and damp, smelling of earth and dry leaves. Soft footsteps echo ahead, always ahead. I strain to see, but the rows twist, folding the light into shadow. The rustling of stalks brushes against my arms. I taste the cold air, metallic, sharp. The hum of the night presses against my chest. I step carefully, boots sinking into damp soil. Footsteps ahead, soft, deliberate pause. Then continue, always just out of reach. The maze folds around me, walls moving, shifting. Mist curls along the ground, clinging to my skin. A shadow flickers between the rows, pale and hesitant. I reach a corner, pause, listening. The footsteps do too. They echo, fading, returning, like a heartbeat I cannot catch. The stalks sway without wind, brushing my face with dry rustling. I feel eyes pressing from within the maze, patient, hidden. A low hum vibrates through the ground. I move again, hand trailing along rough stalks. Footsteps follow, never fast, never stopping. My breath coils in the fog, sharp and shallow. Corners twist unexpectedly, paths I thought I knew folding into unfamiliar turns. The footsteps linger, close now, teasing, teasing. I taste the damp earth, feel it cold beneath my palms as I steady myself. A shadow glides across the narrow path, just out of reach. I blink and it disappears. The footsteps continue, patient, endless. The maze hums with presence, ancient and still. I feel the ground vibrate faintly under my feet. I swallow the cold fear, moving slowly, deliberately, tracing the sound. The footsteps fade into silence as the rows open slightly. Moonlight leaks through, pale and weak. I stop, alone, chest tight, listening for the echo that may never come. The wind rustles the corn quietly. The maze exhales around me. And I know, somewhere in the folds of stalks, the footsteps wait, patient, just beyond sight. The field stretches under the pale moon. Mist clings to the ground, curling around my ankles. The air tastes damp, metallic, and faintly sweet. Small lights hover above the stalks, soft, flickering like fireflies that shouldn't exist. They appear and vanish, teasing the edges of vision. Shadows stretch toward them, long, thin fingers of darkness reaching. But the lights retreat, dissolving before contact. I move closer, boots sinking into wet soil. The hum of the night hums low, vibrating through my chest. Each step sends a rustle through the grass, echoing, soft and hollow. The lights pulse gently. I blink, and they shift slightly as though aware. The fog twists around me, wrapping my arms in cold silence. I reach out. Fingers brush empty air where a glow lingered moments ago. A faint, sweet scent drifts like crushed petals, fleeting and strange. Shadows flicker across the field again. They mimic the lights, stretching, recoiling. A low static hum vibrates under the earth. I pause, breath shallow, watching the dance. The mist coils, brushing my neck with cold touch. The world feels alive, watching, waiting. The lights drift higher, wavering, teasing the horizon. The shadows follow, elongating, then shrinking into the fog. Silence presses in between pulses of movement. I step forward. The hum pulses, a heartbeat beneath the soil. I taste damp air and feel the chill of unseen eyes. A soft rustle, stalks brushing together, or something else. The lights flicker again, teasing curiosity and dread. They drift, always just beyond reach, like a memory I cannot hold. I stand alone. The field breathes around me, alive with shadow and light. The mist curls at my feet, gentle yet insistent, and then they fade. Lights vanish, shadows dissolve, leaving only fog and wet earth. The hum lingers faintly, a whisper against my chest. I take a step, and the silence swallows me. The field stretches, empty, waiting for the next flicker, the next shadow, the next heartbeat in the fog. The farmhouse sits under a pale, misty sky. Frost clings to the edges of the window panes, delicate and cold. The air smells faintly of damp wood and winter's breath. I move closer to window. A handprint forms, pale and wet, though no one stands outside. The glass hums softly, a vibration through the frame, through my chest. I breathe in. The cold fog curls around my fingers as I touch the sill. The hum grows, low and insistent, like the whisper of hidden teeth. The handprint stretches slightly, smearing without motion. Shadows gather behind the curtains, folding the room into half-light. A faint metallic scent rises, mingling with frost and dust. I lean closer. The hum vibrates under my fingertips, trembling against skin. The glass pulses faintly, alive, as if aware of my presence. I step back. The window exhales a soft mist. The handprint remains, insistent and pale, holding a silent accusation. The hum ebbs and flows, like water through stone. I can feel it in my chest, a heartbeat out of sync with my own. The room feels smaller, pressing by unseen weight. I press my palm to the glass, matching the handprint. The cold bites, sharp and wet. I taste iron, faint on my lips. The handprint trembles. A shadow flits across the floor, long and thin, curling along the walls. The hum dips lower, vibrating the air in slow, deliberate waves. I step away again, breath shallow. The handprint lingers, unchanging, wet, alive in silence. The frost spreads around it, delicate fingers grasping at the edges. I stare. The hum softens, just enough to feel like breathing. The house exhales slowly, leaving only shadow, frost, and waiting. I leave the window, stepping back into the dim warmth of the room. The handprint remains, frozen, watching. The hum lingers, faint, patient, like a whisper that knows I cannot leave entirely. The air hangs heavy around the corn crib. Night has settled deep into the fields. Fog drifts along the ground, curling around the wooden slats. I step closer. The boards creak softly beneath my weight. Something moves just out of reach, brushing against shadows I cannot see. A faint rustle stirs the dry husks. The smell of earth and dry corn drifts upward, sharp in the cold air. I feel it, watching, patient, silent. The corn crib groans, old wood shifting under invisible weight. I pause. The rustling slows, then stops. A pale light flickers from the corner of my eye. Shapes stretch and shrink, dissolving into darkness. I hold my breath, tasting the dust in the still air. A soft vibration hums through the floorboards. I can almost feel the pulse against my fingertips. The air grows colder, pressing against my skin, whispering of movement I cannot trace. I take another step. The rustling returns, closer now, soft, deliberate, like tiny claws sifting through the husks. I freeze. The shadows twist along the walls, folding and folding again. A faint, metallic tang lingers, sharp and sudden, as if breathed from the ground itself. The corn crib sighs. The shapes shift, sliding between beams of pale light. A faint hum vibrates through the air, low and patient. I try to peer closer. A shadow flits, ducking just beyond reach. The rustling swells, then fades into an eerie silence. I press my hand against the slats, though it feels colder than it should. The air smells of wet earth, of things hidden just beneath the husks. I step back, breath shallow. The rustling resumes distant and soft. The shapes linger just beyond my sight, patient and still. I listen. Every board hums beneath the weight of unseen eyes. The air is thick, waiting, almost alive. I leave the corn crib's edge, glancing once more. The shadows fold into themselves, melting into the night. Only the soft whisper of husks remains, swaying in the cold wind. The hum fades, but the presence lingers, watching, waiting. The path winds through the trees. Leaves are damp with evening fog. The air smells of wet earth and cold decay. I follow the narrow trail. Each step presses softly into the ground. But something is off. The path disappears beneath a veil of fog. Mist curls between the trunks. Thick and clinging, it muffles the world, softening the edges of reality. A footstep echoes. Not mine. Somewhere ahead or behind. I cannot tell. The ground shifts beneath me. Roots rise like fingers, sinking back again. The soil trembles, almost breathing, almost alive. I pause. The fog wraps around me like silk. I can taste it, heavy on my tongue. A rustle, faint, deliberate, comes from the underbrush. Soft, patient, watching. I inhale sharply. The chill bites at my lungs. The path seems to vanish further. Where I once walked, only white haze remains. Trees stretch, twisting longer than they should be. Another footstep, closer now but still unseen. The echo bends, folding over itself, impossible to locate. I move cautiously. Twigs snap underfoot, but not in the rhythm I expect. Each step feels heavier. the earth tugging subtly at my ankles. A shadow flits across the fog. I cannot follow it. It slips behind another curl of mist, vanishing before I can focus. The silence deepens. Only the soft pulse of the fog, pressing against my skin. I feel eyes, though nothing is visible. I reach for the ground to steady myself. Damp leaves cling to my fingers. Cold hum vibrates faintly through the soil. The path, it almost returns. A thin ribbon of earth, slick and pale, just ahead. Yet the fog swallows it again as I approach. I stop, breathe shallow, senses straining. Every movement feels watched. The footsteps echo once more. They recede slowly, fading into the whiteness. The path remains elusive. I step forward. Soft, careful. Fog coils around me, folding, swallowing, and reshaping the woods. A final pause. The world is quiet, but not empty. The fog shifts, and I feel it, waiting patient, watching me find my way or lose it entirely. The field stretches wide beneath the pale moon. Fog drifts along the edges, curling around the grass. The air is thick, damp, carrying the faint scent of moss and wet soil. At the edge of the field, the trees rise. Their trunks are dark and slick with dew. A hush falls over the world, heavy and expectant. I step closer. Branches sway though there is no wind. The leaves murmur, soft, almost human. Whispers curl around my ears. Words I cannot make out. Breath-like, gentle, insistent. Shadows stretch along the ground. Thin fingers, reaching, bending in impossible ways. Whenever I focus, they recede. I pause. Fog coils at my ankles. Each step makes the silence beneath my feet. The whispers grow. A low cadence, layered with breaths and rustles. The sound vibrates through the air, brushing against my skin. The shadows twist with the fog. A figure seems to hover among the trunks. It dissolves when I blink, leaving only pale moonlight and rustling leaves. I feel the rough bark under my fingertips, cold and slick. A faint vibration runs along it, like the tree is breathing. A sigh, soft, carried through the branches. I shiver. The whispering weaves around me. Familiar yet alien. The fog thickens. I can barely see the path behind me. The field stretches into nothingness, pale and silent. Another shadow drifts along the trunks. It bends at unnatural angles. I catch a glimpse of something, eyes or reflections. I cannot tell. The whispers turn sharper. Almost a phrase, then gone. The trees sway, and the sound folds over itself, echoing in the mist. I take a cautious step. The fog parts slightly. Shadows stretch toward me, and then vanish when I look directly at them. I feel the wet grass brush against my ankles. A cold hum vibrates faintly from the earth. The whispers soften, like a lullaby half remembered. The tree line seems alive, watching, waiting, breathing with the fog. I stop at the edge. The field behind me glows pale under moonlight. The whispers fade into the rustling leaves, leaving only the damp air and quiet. I breathe slowly. The shadows retreat. The tree line holds its secrets, patient, silent, eternal. The farmhouse sat quiet under sky thick with fog. The air smelled of damp wood and cold earth. Night had settled, slow and heavy, pressing against the walls. I held the lantern in my hands. Its light was small, fragile, trembling like a heartbeat. Every shadow seemed to stretch a little closer, reaching, waiting. The wind whispered through the broken shutters. Rustling leaves scraped against the siding. I could feel the weight of empty rooms, every step swallowed by silence. The lantern flickered again. A pause, like it was thinking. Then the light returned, faint but stubborn. I thought I saw movement. At the edge of the fog, pale, almost unreal. A figure, watching, not threatening, just observing. Its presence was cold, quiet, yet intimate, as if it knew the corners of my mind. I couldn't breathe too loudly. I didn't want to break the fragile calm. It didn't move closer. It didn't speak. It simply existed there, between the mist and the faint light. The floorboards beneath me hummed with the memory of past footsteps. A soft, unplaceable scent, smoke, maybe, or something older, lingered near the door. The lantern's glow carved tiny islands of warmth against the dark. I wanted to look away, but Curiosity held me still, and then it shifted just slightly. A pause. The fog swallowed it whole. It didn't run. It didn't vanish in a flash. It simply folded into itself, like a page turning slowly in a book I could never finish. I felt relief first. A soft exhale, like the end of a long, held breath. But then something lingered. A quiet dread, soft and patient, brushing against the edges of my mind. I let my hands rest on the lantern. It warmed my fingers just enough to remind me I was alive. The walls creaked. The roof moaned. A shadow shifted where the corner of the room met the ceiling. The fog pressed against the windows. Thin and hungry, I watched it curl and twist, carrying the scent of wet earth inside. I thought I saw shapes forming in the mist, trees, faces, a hand reaching. But when I blinked, they were gone. Time slowed. The lantern flickered again, and I realized the soft hum of the farmhouse was mine alone. I could hear my breath, careful, deliberate. I could hear my heartbeat, stubborn in the quiet. Something brushed past the doorway. Not fast, not violent, just a soft passage, like the end of a sigh. I sat down, the lantern between my knees, steady now. I felt the floorboard settle beneath me. I felt the lingering cold of that figure, not far, not near, somewhere in between. The night stretched on. Every sound carried weight. The drip of water, the whisper of wind, the distant snap of a twig outside. And in all of it, I understood I was alone yet not. The lantern's light finally steadied. It was weaker now, but constant. A last flicker, like the heartbeat of the house itself. I closed my eyes, let the hum of the fog, the walls, the distant shapes cradle me. The figure would not return. And yet, I felt it linger, patient, soft, watching from the edge of my mind. I felt relief and fear, side by side. The lantern glowed once more. Then it settled, and the farmhouse exhaled with me. Silence.